Today I'm joined by USC Scoop's publisher and head analyst, Scott Schrader. Scott, thanks for taking the time to be here.
All right, man. Good to be here.
So, Scott, we've seen a lot of stuff happening with recruiting, both on the football side and basketball side. I want to focus on the football side first. What kind of grade do you give USC right now with what they've been able to do with recruiting?
Well, consider all these schools are under the same circumstances, obviously, but under the circumstances, especially, I'm not quite sure what they're possibly doing wrong because they got a lot of excitement going. They got a lot of guys that are 4 guys maybe left to commit this month. So I don't know what that number would put them up to, but there's a lot of guys that are extremely interested as well. So I would give them. Don't want to give. You can't give anybody an A plus, right? So I'll give them an A.
And it's really kind of shifted because you think about 2 months ago, the season was ending, and people were really upset with how recruiting was looking. What do you make of this season's class? Coming into next year, a lot of people were upset with it. Obviously, not ranked very high nationally, but a lot of offensive and defensive line talent, which USC really needs. We've talked about this. What do you make of that, and how do you think it's changed so far?
Well, I think you talk about the 2020 class, the one that's signed just signed this year.
Yes.
Um, well, there were a lot of failures with that recruiting class. There. First of all, USC was not going to take they didn't have a lot of spots, so they weren't going to take a lot of skill position players. I mean, there's guys Arizona State got, there's guys that other schools got that were 4-star rated guys that USC could have gotten in this last recruiting class, which would have bumped up their ranking. But the guy where they kind of failed was when you let Justin Flo get away and Elias Ricks gets away, and a lot of these really elite guys get away. But that being said, I think this recruiting class is far. They needed offensive linemen because there was kind of a failure recruiting offensive linemen the previous couple of years. So, I think they at least a B plus with their recruiting effort with the offensive linemen. I don't really care what rankings are. I see the kids in person myself, so I'm not relying on Rivals or the other network. And so you have Cortland Ford, who's a left board left tackle. A guy who's 6'5", 6'6", 320 pounds, extremely athletic and played baseball. I mean, you probably put this guy on the track and let him do something there too. But he was a 3-star rated guy who I'm telling you, is a first round NFL draft pick. So I think he's closer to a 5-star than he is a 3-star. You have Casey Collier, who's another kid from Houston, Texas area. Another guy 6'5", 6'6", wingspan like Tyron Smith, big guy. Not quite sure he's as ready to come in as Cortland Ford. Cortland Ford could actually come in and play next year. I'm not saying he's going to start, but this is a guy who looks like he's prepared, to be able to play. You got Jonah Monheim, who was one of the, he was probably the top lineman on the West Coast. He's a guard or a center. And you have a kid, Caden Stephen from Washington. So you have a lot of big guys. USC was lacking those, and so you couple that with a Tuli Palotu from Lawndale High School, an outside linebacker. He's Marlon's brother. You got Gary Bryant Jr. on campus right now. You got well, they're not on campus right now, but you know what I mean. They're enrolled. Josh Jackson, Kobe Pepe, defensive tackle, and a kicker in Parker Lewis. So it was a small class. It wasn't not ranked very high, but neither was the 2019 class, which was ranked, I don't know, 17 or 20 after we factor in Brew McCoy and Chris Steele into it. But look at the value they got from that recruiting class. So, you don't have to bring in a bunch of highly rated guys to have a great recruiting class. And Dabo Sweeney is proof of that. Not saying he's not getting those guys now, but he built a national championship team on 2- and 3-star guys.
I think it's really interesting for USC next year, and especially if you're talking about the 2021 class. It looks pretty solid as of right now, and I know it's early and things do change for better or for worse. But one thing that looks really great is USC basketball right now. The recruiting class for both 20 and 21. What are your thoughts about those?
Yeah, this 2020 class, could you imagine if Zaire Williams commits today and they somehow end
That'd
up
be
with
pretty
Josh
wild.
Christopher? Also, you're talking these are the kind of classes Kentucky and North Carolina and those schools get, not USC. But this is what I think this is what USC fans should get used to, though. Maybe can always have those 3 guys with Evan Mobley and whatever that those 3 guys would be insane. 3 5-stars in one recruiting class for USC. But it's exceptional. These guys are really recruiting really well. I think, you know, it's been kind of bubbling with the basketball is that, you know, there's some guys from Southern California are like, oh, look, let's go to USC. Let's make USC great, win a championship together. So, you know, I think you're starting to feel that with some of the recruits too, football recruits, is that you're like, oh, you know, let's stay home because there's a reason to. You know, the last couple of years, kids were kind of running from USC, and you know, basketball and football both right now. I think the recruiting effort is an A at least. So, 2021, right? It's building as well for USC, and you know, there's some really top guys waiting to commit to USC there too. It's fun to watch for me.
It really is. I mean, it's a great shift. I mean, we were talking a little bit in the beginning of even the basketball season where it's like, is Andy Enfield the right guy right now? And it comes around to this recruiting, and all of this is happening. The same thing with Clay Helton and his staff. Obviously, we've talked about that and the underlying staff there, the big changes there. But it seems like a lot of things, especially for the USC athletic department, are really turning around right now.
Yeah, and I think you hit it right there. You know, in the past, you know, there's been some changes, a coach, you know, offensive staff here, defensive staff there, or whatever whatever coach they were trying to add and make things work. The difference now is you have an administration. You have Mike Bone, you've got Brandon Sosa, and you've got some guys in the athletic department now that are extremely capable of doing their jobs. And these guys don't want to lose. And, you know, they're going to do what it takes to win. And I think right there, you get that set, the athletic director and the athletic department, and you know, now you'll watch everything start working. So they took care of the football program last year. They've given them some staff members. They're making sure they're taken care of, and you know, now the next step is to do that with the basketball program, and they're already recruiting gangbusters before they're doing anything. You know, just it's, you know, USC is the way it was put to me is, you know, we're tired of making it easy for everybody else, and so that's how they're approaching right now.
Gotcha. Scott, always great talking recruiting with you. I want to spring one last question. We're going to get to this later in our show for our debate. While you're quarantining, while you're stuck at home, what is your favorite sports movie of all time, the best one of all time?
Oh, man.
Pick one.
Can I have 30 seconds to think about it?
I can give you a little bit of time.
Man, you know, it's like I always got a kick out of those movies like Major League and stuff like that. The kind of the comedy sports movies. So I just can't think right now. But there's a bunch of really good ones.
Well, Major League's a fantastic movie, so we'll leave it at that. But
thank you,
Scott. Thanks for taking the time to sit and chat with us. I'll see you later.
All right, guys.
So once again, that was Scott Schrader from USC Scoop.